I remember most about that night was the pressure. Before the show, I had to run out there on the avenue and hand out tickets to anybody who would take them because I couldn't even fill the fucking room. Boy, what a difference 24 short years makes. And right before that time, my father had died. He never lived to see me do it. And when he died, I was inconsolable. I thought I'd never smile or laugh again. And the only thing that got me out of that space was a comedian friend of mine, the late, great Norm Macdonald. That's right. Shout out to Norm. And what Norm did, which I'll never forget, is he knew that I was the biggest Jim Carrey fan in the world. Now, I'm not going to go all into it, but Jim Carrey is talented in a way that you can't practice or rehearse. What a God-given talent. I was fascinated with him. And Norm knew that. And he called me up and he goes, Dave, he says, I'm doing a movie with Jim Carrey. Do you want to meet him? And I said, fuck, yes, I do. And it was the first time I could remember since my father died being excited. And the movie was called Man on the Moon. I didn't know any of this. And in this movie, Jim Carrey was playing another comedian I admired, the late, great Andy Kaufman. Yes, and Jim Carrey was so immersed in that role that from the moment he woke up to the time he went to bed at night, he would live his life as Andy Kaufman. I didn't know that. When they said cut, this nigga was still Andy Kaufman. So much so that everybody on the crew called him Andy. I didn't know any of that. I just went there to meet him, and when he walked into the room where we were supposed to meet, I screamed, Jim Carrey! And everyone said, no! Call him Andy. And I didn't understand. And then he came over and he was acting weird. I didn't know he was acting like Andy Kaufman. Just like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, hello. Andy? Now, in hindsight, how fucking lucky am I that I got to see one of the greatest artists of my time immersed in one of his most challenging processes ever. Very lucky to have seen that. But as it was happening, I was very disappointed. Because I wanted to meet Jim Carrey, and I had to pretend this nigga was Andy Kaufman all afternoon. And he was clearly Jim Carrey. I could look at him and I could see he was Jim Carrey. Anyway, I say all that to say, that's how trans people make me feel.
I haven't seen the Netflix special by Dave Chappelle yet. I'm going to. And I like watching Dave. I think he's pretty funny, pretty, raw, right? Takes it right to the edge and then boom, right off the cliff, baby. He skydives and makes it for another day. So it's really great to see him doing those jokes. Although, as the joke was being told with the Jim Carrey thing, I was starting to think about Jim Carrey in there, but then when he came in with the punchline, it was like, oh, okay, all right. And the thing is, he's taking something absolutely realistic, because doesn't comedy have some semblance of truth? Sometimes it has more than a semblance of truth, which people don't want to face. They don't want to look in the freaking mirror. They want to sidestep that mirror and look in another completely direction, because what they see in the mirror is reflecting right back at them, and the mirror does not lie. If you're fat, it tells you, mirror, mirror on the wall, you certainly are the fattest of them all. If you happen to be ugly, mirror, mirror on the wall, you certainly are the one of the most ugliest of them all. And if you happen to be pretty, mirror, mirror on the wall, you certainly are the prettiest of all. So the thing is that one thing, when we make allies in our movement, the conservative movement, against the cult of climatology, the Church of Climatology, with Greta Thunberg as the virgin, Greta. And everybody is following her in lockstep barrel, lockstep march, goose step march. And then we have people with the Church of Transgenderism. Sometimes we have to make some allies, not with people that have just come over once or twice. But Dave Chappelle has been doing this, at least on the transgenderism issue, for a fairly long time, calling it out for what it is, all the BS that goes around with, all the fraud, all the scare tactics that the Church of Transgenderism tries to use to silence its critics, silence the people that are trying to save children, saying they're all transphobes and bigots and racists and every other word that comes out of political card deck that they can throw at us. So on most of the issues, I don't think Dave Chappelle is too much of a conservative. Now there's others out there. Ricky Gervais doesn't give a crap. I mean, did you see what he does after the people in Hollywood when he's there hosting the award shows? I mean, he goes right after. I mean, someone with very deep cutting satire that, people are like, I don't think I want to go to the award ceremony if Ricky Gervais is going to be, calling out my name or whatever. Because there's not only an element of the truth, it's like I said, nearly 100% of the truth when Ricky Gervais calls something out. And what about, J.K. Rowling of Harry Potter fame? On this issue, on the issue of transgenderism, on the issue of women's rights, she is right there on the conservative. She is right there marching right with us in front with the banner. On most other issues, not so much. So my question is, why do these people like Dave Chappelle, J.K. Rowling, I don't know that much about Ricky Gervais's politics. I don't know. I would think conservative based on what he's saying, but then, you know what? I could be wrong, or maybe it's a hybrid. But why is it that these people, Rowling, Chappelle, and maybe some other comedians out there, why is it that on this issue, they point out the hypocrisy, they point out the lies, they point out the fraud, they point out all kinds of things that's wrong with it, that everybody can see, scientifically they can see. It's not, people talk about there's your truth, my truth, and then there's the truth. There's your feeling, my feeling, and then feelings. There's my lie, your lie, and then the lie. There's my spin, your spin, and then the spin. Well, why is it? I don't understand. Why is it that they can make a complete delineation on the topic of transgenderism and women's rights, and how the Church of Transgenderism, the cult of transgenderism, is literally, if it's allowed to continue, allowed to flourish, allowed to grow, it will completely consume the entire definition of woman and womanhood. It will completely erase women from everything that they have fought so strongly to achieve. So why is it that they can see so clearly on that? No need to put on glasses. They can see it clearly with clear-cut X-ray vision, penetrating lead. No kryptonite. But on the other social issues, the other cultural issues, they're like against us. They're against us conservatives. So sometimes, they do say politics does make strange bedfellows. You know what? I guess we'll have to take it where we can get it. I mean, it's the same thing sometimes, right? Lindsey Graham, sometimes he comes out there and he just fights like a conservative, tiny bit of the time. But we take it when we can get it. But other times, he reverts back to neocon Grahamnesty. I guess that's just the way it's going to be, folks, as we go forward. But don't be fooled into thinking that just because on one issue or a couple issues, this is a major issue, though, major issue, because they have a huge grip on culture in America, just like sports athletes do, just like rap stars do, music stars, whether they're country or they're from Hollywood, the Hollywood stars, they do have, look at The View, The Rear View. They do have a hold on a part of America that listens to them. So when we have people like Dave Chappelle, like a JK, like Ricky Gervais and others that come out on these topics that are of huge importance, not only, I think, for humanity, for the sake of what is really personhood, for the sake really of women fighting for women's rights and for children's rights, not to be mutilated, not to be guinea pigged on with these medications that we know have absolutely profound, um, disturbing, biological, non reversible effects on children. So it's great that they are on our side on this topic and will continue to fight, because when other people from the other side, or those on the fence, or maybe some people think they're independent or they're more socially conservative, more socially liberal, they might take another look and go, huh, Dave's saying that, JK's saying that, Ricky's, maybe I need to rethink this, or at least shake them up somewhat. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you like our content, we'd love for you to go ahead and smack that subscription button, like, share, and follow us. You all know what to do. Put your comments down below. Share those with us as well. Try to get to as many as we can. Just really hard. I'll leave you with my final. Check out our other links here and there, somewhere around here. And I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.